So, welcome to our second episode. And for those that are new to me, welcome to our Travel CEO session. My name is Sundey Gardner, and today we are going to talk about a hard truth that most people don't talk about or don't want to tell you, and that is selling trips is keeping you stuck. And so, last week, we talked about why hustling harder isn't the answer. And so hopefully you guys took my challenge. I didn't see too many people inside the group posting, but we did talk about how to get away from that hustle mentality and really shift into a CEO mentality. And so today we're going to show how we need to stop playing the price matching game and start running a real travel business. Are you guys game? Let me know in comments if you guys are game for that and you are ready to go. By the end of this session, it is my hope that you'll know exactly what you need to do to position yourself to attract the types of clients that are interested in remarkable experiences and not just another trip. So welcome again for those of you all who are joining. All right, so listen, how many of you all, when you started, you thought, oh, selling trips is going to make me rich? Because that is exactly what I thought. I was like, oh my God, I've got the travel superpower and I am going to be, god awful rich as a result of that. How many of you guys felt like that or did that? And the reality is, if you did feel like that and you were one of those people and you're not rich now, that's, there's something to that. And I'm going to talk to you about what's really happening in this sort of mentality is, you're probably, I was really surprised when I first started around this whole concept. I mean, I don't traditionally do this. I'm not a big buyer, but the whole idea of price matching. Oh, I found this cheaper. Let me, can you beat this price? I don't really typically do that. So I was surprised when that became sort of a thing. How many of you guys, is that a thing for the clients that you work with? Is Dottie says that I thought at least I would make a decent income. And, I was like, I'm going to make these trips. I'm going to hook them and book them. And I'm going to be a bazillionaire by the end of the story. And that is it. And I started my businesses in mid 2000s. So when the whole, having a laptop on the sand beach seemed like a really good thing. Rose gold was big. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be sitting, drinking Mai Tais. I don't even drink Mai Tais, so I don't know why I was dreaming about drinking Mai Tais on the beach with my rose gold. I don't even like gold, but these are the things that were jumping in my head. And I thought selling trips would be the thing to do. So I jumped in. I started selling trips. But here's the problem with selling trips is that it really does lock you into this sort of endless cycle of becoming a commodity where you're trying to compete with online booking sites and you're working harder for less money. How many of you guys feel like that? Everybody wants the hookup, right? That's also one of the things. Somebody says, I'm not beating prices. I provide a service and a value. So you are definitely, Shamika, gonna love what we have to say today. Yes. All right. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm doing something new is I'm going to ask you a question. When's the last time a client asked you to match a price online? When's the last time that happened? And in the meantime, I'm going to post a poll for you all to take. And I'm going to ask you, what's holding you back right now from charging more? If you're not charging for, let's say, your planning fee, or just simply charging more for your trips, what's holding you back? We have about 18 people live. So let me know in comments. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to do that. And then let's see how it goes. Love it. We're almost at about 70 people who have answered. Somebody said, Dana, she writes, I had to learn early that I had to sell on experience. Abso-freaking-lutely. You absolutely do. All right, so we are good. All right, so we have about 100%, almost one person didn't answer. And so we have about what's holding you back. The majority of people, 35% of you all said you don't know how to position yourself. And that is really what is going to set you apart from online booking sites and people coming to you and asking you to match a price. And so let me give you an example of a client that I've worked with in the past. And like, she's just like many of you, her name is Jasmine, and she runs her travel business. Unfortunately, like many of you, she may run it. She's got a full-time job. At the time that we were working together, she had a full-time job, and she considered it to be sort of her side hustle. She wanted to make a couple extra bucks. She was selling 1 to 2 Caribbean trips a month. She was charging $50 for a planning fee. How many of you guys are charging that for your planning fee? How many of you are charging less than $150 for your planning fee? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to see kind of where you guys are at. Jasmine, she was charging $50 for planning fee. She's charging $25 a person, $50 for couples. And she felt like she was competing with online prices. She was making about $300 to $500 per booking in commissions. Does any of that sound familiar? Does that sound like your story? So some of you guys are saying that you charge $50 a person, $75 a person, $100 for groups, which is, depending on how big of the group, that could be, maybe a couple of dollars per person, depending how big. Some of you aren't charging a fee at all. All right, so it does sound familiar, but here's where Jasmine sort of deviated. She was spending hours on creating the perfect itinerary, spending hours poring over review sites, looking at suppliers, piecing it together. And she kept getting clients that were asking her to price match her trips. So she was, again, booking in the Caribbean, and she had a client one time. She told me she had a client who she had spent a lot of time putting together, and she didn't even follow her process, and she didn't charge a fee. And the person came back to her and said, "Hey, I found this online. Can you match it?" And now is in the position of having to go back and look at the quote that she gave, compare it against the whatever her client gave her, and justify the pricing differences. How many of you guys have had to do that? Ultimately, after doing that extra work, the client still didn't book with her. That's when she realized that something had to change. She needed to stop playing a losing game, which is she does the work, the initial work. She's making pennies on the dollar doing that initial work. Then she's asked to justify it by then comparing it against whatever her client found, as if to say that her client, could find exactly what she found. And then she still didn't get the booking. She didn't get the money on the front end because she didn't charge a fee. And even if she did, she effectively did double the work. She has to compare prices, and she's already done the planning, right, for $50. And then the client did the work. Like, how many of you guys who are charging less than $100, $150, have you had a similar scenario happen to you? I'm going to tell you what Jasmine's doing now after working with me. Right now, she doesn't just sell the Caribbean. She's actually named her trips Island Insider Experiences. And so she no longer has to compete with online booking, because what she's creating are custom beach holidays with private sunset cruises, chef table experiences, exclusive VIP access. She's now charging consistently $250 for her planning fee, and for every request, no exception. So she follows her process 100% of the time, no apologies, no justification. Now, she books now 1 to 2 premium experiences in a month, and she's averaging about $5,500 per booking with her experiences. The difference, do you want to know what the difference for her is that she stopped asking permission to charge for her expertise. She just charges for it. She doesn't justify for it. She sets her price. She knows what she does. Someone wrote that they, understand that they got to sell on expertise. So you need to charge accordingly. She knows that she is a professional. She's providing professional services, and she's now attracting those clients that want that are craving that. This isn't really, ladies and gentlemen, this is really not about you proving yourself to anyone else, because frankly, the reason that you're not doing it is because you need to prove something to yourself. It's about really deciding the kind of travel business that you want. How many of you all want the kind of travel business that you want to have? That people that want to work with you, you don't have to like get armpit sweats like I used to do when I used to save $50. Now I effortlessly save $500 without any problem for my planning fee. How many of you want that kind of business? How many of you want to stop apologizing or feeling scared for saying what your number is? I often tell my clients, so if you're ever in a class with me and we're talking about planning fees, I said your planning fee needs to put a smile on your face. When you charge it and you do the service, you need to have a stupid grin on your face that is like, yep, that's what I'm charging and that's what I'm worth, right? So once you get to that space, then when somebody comes at you sideways, you won't care because you already know this is what it is that you're doing. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. So right now, today, this is not really about you learning how to sell better. This is really about about completely changing what you're selling. So if you are selling Expedia.com trips, stop it, right? If you're selling trips, and so I want you to kind of get your arms around what I'm saying. I want you to stop creating and designing trips that are shoppable online. Does that make sense? Like if you're not doing anything that creates a unique experience for your client, then you deserve to be shocked. You deserve to have somebody come to you and say, beat this price, because you're not really commanding a premium experience if it's shoppable. Does that make sense? So that's one thing. When you're selling trips only, you're selling something that everyone can get, and you effectively demote yourself to a commodity provider. We are not commodity creators. We are experience creators. So I really want you to start to think about when you design your trips, because I even want you to start to use different terminology around what you do, right? As a standard, we call ourselves travel agents. For the last, I want to say 5 years, I've been trying to change that terminology in terms of how I refer to you all. I refer to you as advisors because that is what you do. Even more than that, you are designing an experience for someone. And so when you just sell a trip, you're not really selling an experience. You're not really creating an experience. So even the language that you use is important. You are delivering something different, right? As an advisor, you aren't a human, Expedia.com. And so I'm going to give you an example of Monique. She used to compete with everyone online. She used to create trips, the selling of the basic trip to New Orleans. But now she doesn't just sell New Orleans. So she's selling in the United States. She doesn't just sell New Orleans and a basic, let's say, I haven't been to New Orleans in a long time. So she's not just selling Bourbon Street, right? She's actually selling what she refers to as a cultural heritage experience that includes now private cooking classes with local chefs in the New Orleans area, exclusive access to historical events, and stories that people aren't going to be able to find online at Google, right? Her clients don't ask for Expedia prices. They're not looking for a discount because they're looking for that type of experience when they go to New Orleans, if you say it right? So her travelers, what I want you to think about is we are unique in what we do. Right now, if you are, again, last week I said, if you are selling budget trips and you are selling, let's say, budget, you want to be the lowest, the dirtiest lowest that you can get and get dirt treat, and you want to beat everybody on the market, you got to show up in a different way than the way that I'm talking about. If you are now using AI in a way to help you, you got to show up in a different way because now everybody has AI, even Expedia.com. I just saw an article this week or last week that now AI is now a part of it was Expedia or one of the common online agents. I don't remember, but when I saw that, I was like, we got to even up our game in terms of the way that we use AI. So let me give you some examples on how to do that. Anybody can now go into ChatGPT, Perplexity, which is a research AI version, and ask for recommendations, right? They can now go into a platform like Expedia, have an AI component that's in there. I even think Kayak uses AI. But here's the difference between you and using AI that a traveler who doesn't know the business isn't going to be able to do. What a travel advisor can do with AI, what sets you apart from the usage of AI is that you can ask AI to help you with recommendations, and you can combine those insights with your expertise, with the way that you vet supplier and the relationships that you have with those suppliers. You also include quality control. You also have backup plans. So if a supplier goes through, you've got a backup supplier that you can use. That is what's going to get clients to stay with you, stick with you, and value your professional services. With regular travelers, they're just using generic AI suggestions. So yes, AI can give you the hotel to go to, the top 5 hotel that maybe people have reviewed, but you need to know who's the person on site that if there's a problem that they need to go to, the best restaurants at that particular site, and if not, how to get the answer to that question, how to understand what to go, who to go to, what to do in the event that something goes wrong. That is really what makes us thebomb.com. I want you guys to remember that. And right now, if you're not charging for those services, you're effectively getting them for free. And it's not helping you by giving it away for free, right? The service, giving away the service for free isn't getting you more clients. It's not keeping your existing clients. So it's not doing you any good by not broadcasting, highlighting them, and charging for it. So what I want you to really understand is regular travels, even though travelers, they can get AI suggestions, they don't know you need to use AI strategically to create distinctive experiences. And so this is what a professional advisor can do with the usage of AI. One, they can use AI to do initial research, but then you need to apply your expertise to vet each option, right? You need to have a process by which you do vetting. What's your criteria for someone to come on your supplier list? How do you even look at other people's reviews with a discerning eye to determine, yeah, there's still something? How do you contact the supplier to get boots on the ground at that location? You need to build and maintain real relationships. I was talking to an advisor yesterday, and one of the things that we were talking about in our coaching class yesterday is you've got, you all with host agencies, and you're like, yes, I know I've got access to suppliers, but you don't know the BDMs for the suppliers that you've done. You don't know the salespeople for the resorts that you frequent. Those are contacts that you need to be fostering on a regular basis. It's not important to have a whole bunch of suppliers under your belt. What it's important is to have significant relationships with the suppliers that you intend to use on a regular basis. You also want to make sure that you have a solid backup plan for every element of your trip, right? So if something goes wrong, who's your go-to? So if you like to go to Cancun and this is where you go, these are your choice hotel. What's your backup hotel in the event that hotel, you got to move somebody out of a hotel because of whatever reason, right? You need to ensure that there's a quality process through your professional supplier network, right? What is the way and the criteria by which you vet your suppliers? And then you want to make sure that you're always adding some sort of personal touch. No technology, no online booking company is doing that. And that is really what's going to continue to set you apart from online booking suppliers, and then also AI in and of itself. The real value isn't just in the AI recommendations. It's really in your ability to take a recommendation, apply your experience, and then make it a reality, right? With verifiable quality, and handle the challenges that may come up, right? This is what makes you unique. This is what makes you thebomb.com. So if you've forgotten about what makes you thebomb.com, this is a couple of things to help you realize. I'm going to ask you guys another question here. When you think about making these shifts in your business, what do you find to be the most challenging? So the option is stopping with basic bookings, creating a unique experiencing, charging for your planning fees, or standing firm on your pricing. I love AI though. I'm not going to lie. I love AI. I love what it's allowed me to do. It's stretched my ability. But, I know some of you all feel a little overwhelmed by it. But when it comes to knowing that if you really want to be in the premium space, you cannot be selling basic. Like where are you guys finding the challenges now? We're almost at the 50%. Just need a couple more people to answer. I think we've got a clear winner. And then I'm going to end it now. We've got a pretty much over 50%. So right now we've got the biggest challenge that you all who are watching live say is that creating unique experiences is where you see the challenge. All right, so you're definitely going to want to stick with me through the rest of our series inside of CEO Sessions, because we're going to be talking about this every single week. This is really our objective, is to ensure that you're creating these experiences, that you're, first of all, that you're creating experiences, that one, that you accept that you are an experience creator. And in so that requires prerequisites on your part, right? In terms of getting yourself as a, getting yourself and positioning yourself as an experience creator, and then being able to do that on a consistent basis. All right, so here are some of the objections that I normally get from advisors. And so I'm gonna talk about the objection, and I'm going to talk about ways that you can handle it. So one of the major objections I get from advisors is, I don't know enough about these destinations to create special experiences, which is exactly what the poll said, right? Is that you don't know how to create the experiences. And this is exactly where your superpower is going to come in, right? So as a travel advisor, you have access that the normal person doesn't have, right? With AI, you now have more access than the normal person, because once you get the access, then you just simply need to apply the following to this. And so let's talk about what that is. Anybody can get a set of results from Google, from AI. You can get a recommendations result, right? And so what you are then, if you don't do anything else after you get a result, like let's say, give me the 5 best hotels in Cancun, right? And you could say, give me 5 of the best 5-star hotels in Cancun. You could ask for that. But if you don't do anything else with that, then you're trusting that the results that you get are sufficient. So these are the things that you need to do and this is where your superpower comes in. You need to research and vet the suppliers professionally. You can pick up the phone. You can send an email to get the contact information. Most of the sites will have a business development manager, which is BDM. They'll have a salesperson on staff right there. So if you're thinking about using a resort, you need to let your fingers do the walking, right? Fingers walking on the telephone or fingers walking in the email, and reaching out to the supplier and ask questions, vet them out. The second thing is that you need to build a relationship. You need to have an email, a phone number, a person's name that you can reach out to in the event that your client has a problem when they actually go on property, particularly if you're not doing a group trip, right? You need to build relationships not only with the resorts, but with local partners if these are destinations that you want to sell on a regular. Now, if you're selling, let's say you're doing a fit trip and you're like, I'm going to a place I've never been, you still need to do some due diligence. I would still get on the phone with the salesperson and I would ask them, what are the best restaurants that most people in your area go to? And then I would reach out to that restaurant and see, I'd go to their website. I would want to build a relationship, particularly if it's a destination. Now, if it's an investigatory destination that I've never been to and I'm sending someone there, I'm still going to do some level of vetting and some sort of research, right? I'm probably going to take a trip if it's definitely a group that I'm going to want to take there. The next thing is you want to have backup plans for every element of the experience that you create. You guys are creating signature experiences, I hope. And so as such, right, there is a standard set of elements for every trip that you do. If fit group elements are going to be pretty much the same, right? What happens if for some reason you didn't know that the resort is under construction and all the rooms that are only available are smoking, and then your client has smoking problems and you just didn't know that? Like you just did some. I mean, I've heard so many advisors that that's happened to, right? You've called, you looked on their website, and you just didn't know, and you've got to move your client to another resort. Where do you move them to, right? Have a backup plan. Understand what the policies are for cancellation and the contingencies that you need to have. Cross-reference reviews and actually verify service quality at your items. So this is your job, right? So if I'm going to sell premium anything, I'm going to be the bomb.com all the way around, right? So I'm not throwing together just some recommendation that some Yahoo put together, Yahoo, get it? Yahoo Travel put together, and I'm going to have vetted. There's going to be a process that I go through to get somebody, a supplier on my list. Second question that our objection that I normally get is my clients are used to booking basic trips. Fire them. They won't understand the shift, right? And so, listen, this is what not only the client that I work with, her name is Stephanie, but what most people will hear from me is most of your clients aren't going to be used to the shift that you are wanting to make in your business. And here is what I will do is you want to start with showing clients the difference. Here's how, and what I mean by that is you're going to start using the language in your conversation with your clients that not I charge because of this. You want to start to say is this is how I protect your investment. This is how I personally vet my suppliers. This is what happens if something goes wrong. These are the exclusive touches that I've added to your trip to make it special. So you're not saying I'm charging $250 because of this. You're talking through what your process is in a way that's going to connect to your client. Does that make sense? So it's not, again, about just increasing your prices randomly. It's also about increasing the language and the way that you are talking about your services and also talking about the trips that you are creating. The last objection that I'm going to talk about that I typically get is, what if I promise an experience and something falls through? And this has happened. If you've been an advisor for any time, shit's just going to happen, right? Like stuff that's out of your control, and you need to be able to handle that. And so this is where being the professional really is going to do it. And this is what you want clients to pay for, is that you are the problem solver. You are the one that can solve problems. It's not like, I was talking to a client the other day, and she had a wedding, and the client missed the flight. The bride missed the flight. So not just anybody, not anybody in the group. The bride missed the flight, and so she had to reschedule the bride. And frankly, and I don't think she even charged for like the whole group trip and all of that. And the trip was just a fiasco from the word go. But that kind of stuff, right? The bride's going through all sorts of stuff, right? Trying to get the dress and not to forget the dress, not to forget destination weddings are in and of itself. That in and of itself is a specialty. And so just by virtue of being able to solve that problem and have someone to call, right? The commission check alone doesn't cover that, right? The commission that you get with the supplier doesn't cover the fact that you got to rebook all of her flights because she missed the flight. Right? Yeah, she's got to pay the difference, but is that a part of your service that you provide? And is that a part of your service menu? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. You are a problem solver. You are a contingency solver. Like, I'm going to be here for you when all hell breaks loose on things that you can't even possibly think about, and I can't even think about. I'm your advocate, right? That has value, and you should charge accordingly. All right, how many of you guys are feeling this so far? Like, how many of you guys feel like you're already doing this? How many of you guys feel like you got to up your game a little bit based on what we've talked about so far? Need to up my game, got to up my game. All right, well, you want to up your prices, right? Like, how many of you, hands down, want to up your prices? I'm doing this, but got to up your game. And so, Alicia, very well. And for those who feel like you're already doing it, it could be that you're just not articulating it. You're not talking about it in a way that really allows people to see your greatness, right? Nobody's going to talk about you like you do. So for those of you who are in corporate jobs or in a job that is not, your business, and you've ever had to do a review, right? They say when you get ready to do a performance evaluation, you need to talk it up because your boss is not going to remember all the amazing stuff that you did over the last year, right? You got to make sure that you document what all those things that you did, how you saved the company all this money, how you did whatever. You got to document it and you got to talk about it. And that's the same thing in your business. No one's going to talk about how amazing you are or translate all of the little things that you do It's your responsibility to do that. And so when you're talking, and let's say you're having your discovery call and you're talking about, what your process is to get a person out of town, all of those things, you need to translate that into language that says, hey, I am your advocate, right? I am the one that is going to cover when all hell breaks loose, right? And again, you probably won't use the word hell, but you understand what I'm saying, right? You need to make sure that you've got the right language that speaks to what it is that you provide as a service to your client. So you guys are telling me help you up your game. Definitely need to up the game, and this is need more testimonials. I plan. So here's the thing, and this is a really good call out, because again, a lot of people are like, I don't have testimonials, and absent of testimonials, then you need to create your own case studies, and case studies really is your summary of what happened in a particular situation. So if you've had a trip, you've had several trips that you've done and it went well, or there was a lesson learned, document that and talk about that in a way that reveals what the end result and how you saved the day. So when you are low on testimonials, and so that means that you need to up your testimonial game, right? Have a process for collecting testimonials, create case studies. And that's all a case study is you summarizing the details of what happened, the client, the situation, the problem, and how you solved it. And having those in a collection of those that you periodically talk about on a regular basis can also substitute absent of testimonials. Testimonials are great, but in the interim, create yourself some case studies around trips that you've designed for, or families that you've helped get out of town. Alicia, I know that you help families with special needs. So if you have any stories of how you help those families with special needs, the problem, the special need that the client had, and what you did, you can recap and post the pictures of the trip and help them. And then, if they're okay with that, then I would ask them for a testimonial. Don't be afraid to ask for the testimonial. All right. So now that we've talked about the objections, now let's talk about how you as an advisor can really start to create experiences that set yourself apart from both online booking engines and other travel advisors who aren't necessarily doing that. So let me give you an example of a client who took her Greece trip. And so while everybody, if you've ever been to Greece, pretty standard itinerary that people are doing, Santorini, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Athens, and maybe you're going to one of the other Greek islands. And so my client, instead of just calling it the, glorious Greece or whatever your supplier may call it, she now calls her experience the Insider Greece experience. And this is what she does. So during her professional research phase, she uses AI to identify unique experiences. Actually shared a prompt with you all. Maybe I shared it with our foundations program. I created a prompt that really helps advisors identify unique experiences that are available for a destination that are not the normal on the beat path, but off the beat. She cross-references those with her supplier network, so the people that she knows in that destination, and then uses AI to help her identify potential contacts for her to use to vet. And then she personally vets each of the components of her trip. She builds a relationship with a local partner. That's her signature destination. So even though she may not have used them, she has contacted them. She has asked important questions. She's asked for verification, right? So, one of the things that I'm looking at is when I'm working with a vendor, I'm looking at their menu. I'm looking at why, what's different about their menu compared to sort of the regular locations that people are doing. She's creating an exclusive combination that you can't find online. So you need to understand what's sort of the going rate, even with some of these suppliers, like some of the suppliers that we're using, right, that are becoming sort of known suppliers, their itineraries are the same. But just because the itinerary is the same doesn't mean that you can't pick up the phone and be like, can we have the following XYZ? Number two thing that she's doing after she's done the professional research phase is she's doing what I call is an experience design. She's adding private, unique activities, right? So for her Greece trip, what she specifically does is that she's adding a private sunset tasting with a local, with a, I always have a hard time with this word. It's a veneer, a wine taster, right? Arranges a photography session, right? So everyone knows with Greece, common picture is the flying dress on top of the white. I don't even remember what the name of those buildings are, right? But the white with the blue settings into that background. That's sort of a common thing, right? But creating a photo session, that if that's what the client wants to have, the flying dress, but that's sort of the common thing that everybody's doing, having a different type of photo session, finding a photographer on Greece that is going to do a unique, particularly if it's a couple or if it's a family, a unique type of photography. So again, I don't want to flood, like if you see what's in TikTok in the timelines for your eyeline, what can you do? And if you don't know what to do, this is where AI really can help you create something that's going to be different, that isn't what everyone else is doing. And so also, when it comes to arranging like a photography session, one of the things that I put here that she does is she arranges those sessions during off-peak hours. So she makes sure that there's not going to be a bunch of crowds at the locations that she is doing. Chef's table, underrated, underutilized feature, but this is a great thing because the chef comes out to the table, talks to you directly. I love talking to chefs. I love talking to business owners at local restaurants because, family-owned restaurants, they have a story. And the owners and the chefs always love to tell the story. What inspired them to create the dish that you're eating, what inspired them to open the business, how long they've been in business. So creating that for your clients and allowing them to get that up and personal allows them to experience a particular destination like no other. And the very last thing I cannot reiterate again is that she's got backup plans. So she's got backup plans, right? I am a certified project manager and I got backup plans for the backup plans. All right. So that is really, if you're looking to sort of up your game when it comes to creating the experiences, making sure that you're researching and creating a design element to your trips is the way to do it. So let's talk about how you can implement this yourself. Step one. Start with the destination that you love, right? How many, give me comments of your favorite destination that you just want to sell in the next 12 to 18 months. You want to sell the heck out of those destinations. Now, if you're one of those advisors that don't have a destination in mind, pick one. You need a signature destination. If you want to up your game, you want to be sending people to a destination that you sell like the back of your hand. You know it like the back of your hand. You know everything about it, or this is what you want to know everything about. Aruba. So Dana says Aruba. Anybody else got any other destinations, right? Dubai, Greece, Egypt, two of my favorite places. Dubai is now my new number one. Bali, I guess, is my second one. But these are your three. So Marlene says Dubai, Greece, and Egypt. All right. So now that you've picked a destination, you're not trying to create signature destinations for every place in the world. Pick, 3 is pretty much max because it's a lot to go deep, right? We as advisors think that we need to go broad and we need to sell everything. But when it comes to repeatable income that you can guarantee, going deep in a destination is great because then you can bring your audience of people to all facets of that destination. So 3 destinations is usually a good starting point for signature destinations as you start to build this. So we've got a lot of people who are doing Dubai. Dubai is the new Caribbean, if you ask me. So Dubai and Greece, the Holy Land, Alaska, Jamaica, I love. All right. So you're not trying to be everyone to everything to everyone. You want to focus your expertise and start to get deep connections in those destinations that you want. You want to build depth inside of that breadth. So if Dubai is the place, you want to build deep. You want to make sure that you've got several accommodations, activities on the beach. For those who are first timers, those that come back, you want to have a set of things. So now we're going to talk about number 2. So now that you've got your destinations, somebody asked, can I craft a unique experience for cruises? Absolutely, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. So step 2 is you create your experience framework and the reason why I say that you can, Dolores, is because every cruise every cruise line, there's itineraries that you can say these are the choice itineraries that I want to sell. Like I want to sell somebody just said Alaska. And so I have a client and she wants to specialize in Alaska. Princess Cruise specializes in there. So that's going to be her choice cruise. That's the itinerary that she wants to sell. Every cruise stops at port. Every cruise that stops at port, those are relationships that you can start to forge at the ports, and activities that happen at those ports, right? So that is a way that you can do it, particularly with cruises. Before and after experiences with cruises is another way to do that as well. So step one was for you to pick a destination. Step two is to create your experience framework. And this is really identifying what your unique touches are, building your supplier network around those unique touches, and document your quality standards. So what happens? Who do they contact if there's a problem with a service or anything that goes on with that particular supplier? Making sure that you have a backup in the event, making sure that the supplier is a backup in the event, right? Making sure that you've thought that through. So step two is all around, you've got the destination, what's the experience? Now, for those of you who are like, I like these places, but I've never been, a destination management company is going to be your favorite person. So now you need to vet out potential destination management companies or tour operators. The process is going to be the same no matter what the destination is. Step three is about positioning it properly. So now we've got the destination. Now we know what the experience is. Destination managers can help you with the experience. Tour operators can help you craft the experience. But what I want to tell you is when it comes to these destinations that you are using and tour operators that you're using that are common tour operators, you still want to differentiate yourself and the itinerary that you ultimately settle on as your signature itinerary. Because again, you don't want to be doing cookie cutter type of things that everybody is doing. Does that make sense? Step three is about positioning it properly, and how you do this is all about language. It's all about the spoken language and the written language and the imagery that you use. So instead of saying that you book trips to destination, fill in the blank, right? It's I create distinct experiences in destination, fill in the blank, right? That include private access, personal connections, and moments you can't find online. That is a really powerful statement. AI can help you with those statements as well. Really what we're looking for is for everything that you do in your itinerary, that you have language that really calls out why it's amazing. Why is your version of Dubai better than my version of Dubai, better than any version that you can find online, right? What's super important about this is really understanding who you want to sell to. So if I know that I want to sell to, let's say, the grown and sexy crowd, right? And with no kids, in their 50s and are ready to live their best life, that language that I'm going to use is going to be a whole lot different than the mom that I'm going to sell who has special needs, right? So making sure that your positioning of your signature experience to your ideal client is going to be key. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And then right now, I'm going to give you some of the common questions that I get, give you some answers. Somebody asked, how do you find your partner DMC? So depending on the destination that you want to go to, will be how you find them. So Denise, give me a destination that you want it, because a DMC is a destination management company. And so I have a couple of referrals. I obviously do not have every destination company. I do have a referral for you, Denise, in Bali. So I do have 2 referrals that I can give you in Bali. So reach out to me. And I think we have a meeting scheduled. We're going to get scheduled, and I'll give you a couple of ideas for Bali. So your network. So within our CEO network community, that's going to be a powerful community to ask, who have you guys used for a destination management company? And even though you get recommendations, you still want to vet them. I will tell you for Facebook groups, there are a lot of travel advisor communities that are out there. And some of them are good. Some of them are not so good in terms of the recommendations that they get. whoever you get as a recommendation for a company or a supplier, you always want to have a vetting process. You always want to make sure that you vet them because my tomato may not be your tomato, right? And so just because I think that they're the bomb.com and many people think that they're the bomb.com doesn't mean that they're going to meet your quality standards, right? So again, I want you to just say, just because you get a recommendation doesn't mean that you shouldn't still vet them. You should absolutely still vet them and make sure that they're the right one. All right. So one of the questions I get, which is exactly what you guys are asking, is how do I start building these supplier relationship? So what I want you to do is I really want you to stop thinking about building relationship and really start thinking about your professional who wants to work with valuable clients. Suppliers need you, right? It's not really the other way around. If you're working with a supplier that doesn't value the relationship that you want to have with them, find another supplier. What I will tell you is definitely in the post-COVID world, suppliers were swamped with, requests. They were not getting back, so pre-COVID, suppliers were at your beck and call. I'm here. What do you need? I'll take you to lunch, take you to breakfast, lunch and dinner. I'll buy you, a nice meal. And, COVID hit and everybody kind of went under, and then the COVID hit and now everybody's swamped and suppliers don't reply to email and their service is not as good. And what I will tell you is that is a reflection to me of the company. And so you need to show up. And I tell people when they introduce themselves to a supplier, if you come from a host agency where the motto is really, give me a free trip, don't come at it a supplier from that perspective. You need to come to a supplier with here's good language that you do. I have X number of clients looking for distinctive experience in this destination. Here's what I expect from my clients. How can we build a relationship? Can you talk to me about your property? Can you talk to me about your services and your product that are aligned with my clients, right? You come from a position of power and you speak power language that says, listen, I'm not hungry for your business. I'm not looking for you to give me anything. What I want to know is how I need to add you to my network, right? So you need to step from a position of power. You are not their latchkey. You do not work for them. They work for you. And you think, because they're giving you commission, that they're your boss, and it's really the other way. I want you to think of a commission that you get from the supplier as a bonus, right? It's a bonus because you picked them. It's not your payment, and that's the way it is. Like that, you just got to sort of shift the way that you think about the relationship. The number 2 question that I get often is, how do I handle clients who still want basic trips? You don't. Simply, you just don't handle. You gotta. There's no way to make the shift but to make the shift. Is the moment you start accommodating these basic trips, you're back in a commodity mode. You got to be clear about the fact that you create distinctive travel experiences. And if you're looking for basic bookings, you need to give them a recommendation for an online source that maybe that you then have an affiliate relationship with, but that you need to value your time and your expertise and stop apologizing for it. Simple as that is. And so don't get me wrong, I don't come in my inbox and be like, but I still need to make money. I understand that you still need to make money, but you can't stop doing what you're doing until you stop doing what you're doing. And if you want to do something different, you've got to do something different, and you got to make room for that. The other question that I get is, what if my current suppliers don't offer unique experiences? And you're not with the right suppliers. I mean, I'm not trying to be glib or, a smart ass, but the reality is if you don't have the supplier network, then it's time for you to get the supplier network. And let me also say this. Depending on the suppliers that you're working with, it could be that you're just not asking the right questions, right? Maybe you're just taking what they give you and you're not asking the right types of questions. Maybe they have this sort of standard itinerary to Dubai, and you You weren't asking, can you customize this itinerary? You weren't giving them alternative ideas, because what I want to tell you is, as I tell you all that you want to standardize the way that you do your business, the tour operators want to do the same thing. They want to standardize the itineraries that they give you. They, DMCs want to standardize the itineraries, their go-to signature itineraries. But just because they standardize it doesn't mean that you have to accept it. And that is, you need to understand what the cost is if you do a change, what that looks like. Is it just like, can they do it? Do they support it? Those are the types of questions you need to happen when you go through the vetting process. All right, so the last common question that I get is, how do I know which experiences are truly special and truly, worthy of inclusion in your mix? And let me just say this: if you have to ask if it's special, it's probably not really special, right? Like, I do believe that we have this sort of sixth sense. And so if you have to ask yourself, is this really experienced? That means you're not wowed by it, right? But I will tell you that I've got this sort of weird thing about my body. Like, when something's really cool, I get goosebumps, like it just happens. Like, I have this internal thing, and you do too. You're just probably not ignoring it. So what I will tell you is, if you don't feel wowed by it, it's probably not wow. No matter what your own personal experience, if you've had some amazing experience, nothing wows you, if something is wow. And what I want you to do is, I want you to stop trying to dress up a basic experience and make it into a wow thing. I want you to create moments that people say to themselves, how'd you do that? Or wow, I want you to have people say, wow, I can't believe that this just happened. Don't get me wrong, I've used TripAdvisor, but I will say this: if you can find it on TripAdvisor, I want you to think about, is this really the thing that you want to do? Okay. All right. Now, last question, common question I get is, what's the first step in transitioning my existing business? A lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to move from where I am to where I want to be. And so what I want to tell you is, just stop transitioning. It's not really about you transitioning. It's really about making the decision that this is the business that we're going to have, and I'm going to start running it that way. So from this point forward, these are the things that I need to do to get to the space that I need to do. This is my plan to do it. I'm going to stop apologizing for it, and this is what I'm going to do. So for those of you who are not charging a planning fee, my recommendation today is establish 150 minimum. My preference is that you're at 250. Define what that looks like and start charging it from this point forward. Here is your challenge for this week. Are you guys ready for your challenge for the week? We just went over a lot in a very short order of time. Are you guys ready for your weekly challenge? So listen, travel CEOs, that's what this is your year name. Every year I have a name. Last year was Travel Warriors, but I'm sticking with Travel CEOs because that is what we are. What I want you to do is, I want you to completely rewrite how you talk about what you do. Not a gentle edit, a complete overhaul. So when you think about what you do, I'm going to tell you what you need to do, and I'm going to put this inside of our Travel CEO Network group so that you have it, is I want you to delete every post that you've got out there. If you can find them all, delete them all. Delete them all. That's number one. Those posts that you're telling people you're just another booking agent, right? I got this trip and it does blah, blah, blah. I want you to delete them. Then I want you to write. So number two is, then I want you to write a new introduction about who you are. No, I'm not a travel advisor. That's not what I want you to do. Or I don't want you to talk about, I booked dream vacations. That's not what I want you to write. I want you to write something along the lines of this: I create exclusive fill in the blank destination, if you do specialize in a destination or an area of the world that you can't find online or book yourself. I design private access moments in that destination or for your fill in the blank type of client who wants something extraordinary. That's just an example of an introduction statement. All right. That's number 2. Number 3, I want you to take one of your standard bookings that you just did. Let's just say you just did it this week, last week, I don't care what it is. And I want you to turn it into something distinctive. I don't want to see any activities that someone can go Google, right? So if you've got a tour operator that you're always using and they do Dubai and they're doing the desert tour and they're doing the Burj Khalifa and they're doing, what's the other standard one? I want you to go find 2 activities to replace those activities. And I want it to be distinctive. And then show me what you got inside. Show me what you got, like a pork chop. And show me what you got inside of the Travel CE network. I'm going to put this challenge text in there. You can reply to that. And if you put your post in there, I don't know that I see them unless you tag my name. If you tag my name, I'll actually get an email and I will know that it's there, or you'll catch it when I do my my group reviews. And I want you to post it inside of our Travel CEO network. And then I will give you my feedback on your statement. And then if you want to give me a little bit about what you've swapped out your itinerary, I'll give you some feedback on there. All right, that is your challenge for the week. So let's be real, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see a change, you got to make a change. If you want to stop just selling trips, you got to, where people can't go and shop you and say, I found this online. You got to start designing trips that can't be found online. You got to start creating these kinds of experience that showcase your real value and showcase why you are thebomb.com. And so listen, this week, if you guys do not already have our magnetic niche workbook, which really shows you how to identify the type of client that you want to position for these destinations that you want to get, you'll want to go ahead and grab it. It is yet another stealer of a price. There's an actual workbook with a collection of niche identifying ideas in order to craft your own specific niche in terms of what you want. You'll get that at onlinetravelboss.com/magnetic niche. It's only $3. And this really isn't about making small changes. We are really completely shifting how you run your travel business. And I cannot wait to see how you guys are doing it. So we covered a lot in today. We only have an hour, got to actually run. And so what I want to do is just give you a sneak peek when you join me next week. We will be talking about pricing next week. So you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to be talking about the pricing trap and how the industry keeps you underpaid and ways that we can break that cycle so that you can maximize not only the money in your pocket, but your bottom line. Thanks for joining me live. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Today, we shifted from selling trips to curating premium experiences. Want to attract high-value clients? Get the Magnetic Niche Kickstart today. Next week, we're exposing the industry pricing trap. Be there to learn how to charge what you're worth.